episode of But Make It Books, a podcast where we're bookishly healing through life. I'm Nakar, I'm your host, and I am so blessed to be in the space and the place with Amy. Hi, welcome to the pod.
Hi, sister. I'm so happy to be here.
Me too. We got it together, and I'm thankful.
We did it.
Thank you
We're
for your
here. It's
patience.
happening. It's all
Yes,
happening.
yes, I love it. I love it. So we always do this on the pod. How are you feeling?
Oh my God, that's you know what? People don't ask you enough. Just like straight up, how are you feeling?
No.
Girl, I mean, I feel I'm happy you asked me. I feel very grateful. I feel very happy. I'm living a dream, that I have had since my 20s. I am literally in the process of developing my debut novel into a television show. Like I just feel so happy about so many different things.
Mhm.
I'm also super tired, like, very stressed because I'm like, I've got to work on my second novel because I have a wonderful two book deal from my amazing publisher, Flatiron, and like I said, I'm developing the show and so many other things. So I'm like a real life combination of like happy and grateful and tired and stressed.
Yeah, yeah. I think people don't talk about that enough. That although we pray for times like this to rhyme like this, but it is tiring. Like when you have your goals in front of you, you do get tired. And
But
so thank you for acknowledging that.
listen, but I also really believe in like not taking for granted the things that you've asked the universe for, right? Like
Hmm.
I have asked for these things, and I
Yes.
really don't think that the universe enjoys it when you protest, you know, what I mean, or complain about the things that you've asked for. So like
Yeah.
I really make it happen not to do that. I'm like I'm a little tired and stressed. I am not complaining, universe. I'm into it. I'm doing it. Like I love it. So you know what I mean? Like that's the energy I want to. That's the energy I have, and that's the energy I want others to feel.
No, I needed that today more than you
Yeah,
know.
ma'am.
So the book is set in the late 90s, early aughts, world of New York media. What is your go-to album from that era? And does it have anything to do with the world you were writing about?
Ooh, well, I mean, well, I think we're gonna talk about my go-to song first of all. If
Yes.
I ruled the world,
World. Imagine that.
although I have to say, I'm gonna keep it a buck though. I've never been more sick of a song in my life.
It's probably on every
I
single post
never
that we all do.
it did occur to me actually that one of my favorite songs of life, like, would just, be, like, on repeat, like, every social post, every everything, and now I'm like, "Dang, if I don't hear this
Dang.
song for, like, 2 years, I'll be okay," you know what I mean? But
Yes.
I mean, Nas is obviously an iconic artist of his time,
Hmm.
and Lauryn Hill, right, who's on the song, is one of my
Yes.
absolute favorite artists of all
Hmm.
time. Do you know what I mean?
Same.
So, so maybe it's Lauren's album.
Yeah. She was just in Baltimore recently, yesterday, actually, at
Mhm.
Pier 6. I'm just like, I love how she always comes to Baltimore. I appreciate that about her.
Listen,
Come to my
listen.
city.
I appreciate many. I love Lauren Hill. You can't. There's nothing that she will. There's no shenanigans that will take away my love for Lauren Hill.
Me too. Honestly, she's probably one
Can't
of
do
those
it.
I'm just gonna have to like die beside. I'm just gonna stick beside him. I'm gonna
You
stick
can't do
beside
it.
her.
You can't take
I
away my
can't
love for
do
Lauren
it.
Hill. You just can't do it. A double dog dare you. No, thank you. You can't do it.
No, miseducation of Lauryn Hill is just like someone brought up recently. It was like actually Cree Miles on Always Black. Um, she brought up that classics become classics, or literature is something to explore the human condition, and
Mm,
classics become classics because they explain it the best. And
mm,
I do think that like certain albums become classics like that. And I think Miseducation of Lauryn Hill is one of those. She
100%.
explores the human condition so well that I'm just like, this album, just everything.
And it's resonant, it's lyrical, it's funky, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
It's so many things. And all I had to say to you too, because I realized as you're singing, I was like, oh, I was just like, oh, Lauren's album. But I didn't even have to say, you know what I mean? I was like, oh, Lauren's
Yeah,
album. You were immediately, we knew what we were talking about. Like it
right.
wasn't, you know what I mean? So yeah, no, she's iconic. And I feel like, one of the things I really love about If I Ruled the World is the strong women that are portrayed, right?
Hmm.
I mean, even though my protagonist Nikki is messy, and we're probably gonna talk about that. She's
Yes,
on
we are.
Yes, I'm sure we are. I'm sure we are. But she's on a journey and she's so smart and she's so ambitious and
Hmm.
she really is mission driven, you know what I mean? And
Hmm.
she's evolving into herself. And so there's so many like female artists from the 90s and early noughts, that I really admire, for the
Mhm.
way that they portrayed the human condition, but
Yeah.
also the journeys that they were themselves on, like Mary J. Do you know what I mean? Like what a journey
Yes.
she has been on us for so many years. When she and I first
Yes.
met, it took us a minute to get along. Let's just put it that way. We're mad cool now, but it took us a second. We're all on a journey.
We're all on a journey. I mean, like for me, I just think about I was a little warthog, a little baby. However, I did grow up with like strong rap artists. Like
Mhm.
I came up with all the strong, like the Little Kims, the Foxy Browns, the Trinas. Like no
Mhm.
one can't tell me nothing about the baddest.
Right.
So I am a Trina fanatic. I
You
love
said
Trina.
Trina. I mean, you took it to Trina.
I
Don't say
did.
listen,
I
I
know
love
me some
Trina.
Trina. I
I
love
do
Trina.
not I love Trina too. I listen. Yeah, because that
Her
was my
Tiny Desk was
well, my era was
awesome
like
too.
'cause Trina was like a sort of a transitional, like, I mean, definitely like, it was coming up out of like the Lights and the
Mhm.
Latifahs and then kind of coming into the Foxies and the Lil Kims and
Yes.
then coming out over into the Trinas and then you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
mhm, mhm.
'Cause without them, we wouldn't have our Cardi B's, Meg Thee Stallions, all of those.
Oh, no,
So,
Trina walked
gotta pay
so, like,
homage.
Cardi could run.
Yes, literally, literally.
100%, right.
'Cause honestly, Trina was the baddest, so Meg could be the hot girl. So, there we are. And I know and I believe Meg Thee Stallion believes that too. So, let's talk about the mess. So, you open this book yeah, we're going there. We're going to the opening. Why did you have to start it like that?
Because, so for those of you who haven't read If I Ruled the World yet, um, we just gonna go with it starts off with Meg, right?
Yes.
It just does, right?
Yep.
And we sort of are catapulted. I did, yes, I chose to catapult the reader right into the thick of a situation that is like at the apex damn near of the messiness of
Mhm.
the start of my protagonist's journey, right? That we're
Mhm.
going on in this novel. Um, and I really wanted readers to see her again at the beginning of this journey, right?
Yeah.
Where she is dealing with the repercussions of this questionable decision. And I've read the prologue, on
Mhm.
social. So I mean, we
Mhm.
can say that, she starts off being discovered, in an affair with her mother's old friend from high school in a very messy way, like a literally and figuratively very messy way.
Messy.
So I really want to start off that way because again, this is the beginning of her journey. But then,
Mhm.
as you recall, what happens in the prologue,
Mhm.
um, is also evidence of some of the themes that I want to explore, right? This is
Mhm.
a fun book, it's a sexy book, it's a glamorous book, but I'm also exploring really serious themes around, that they're threaded through that particular era. A lot of the things that we're learning about now that happened,
Mhm.
in that era in the music industry. You know what I mean? Like we're
Yeah.
the reckoning that's happening,
Yeah,
like
it is a reckoning. Yeah.
and so I really wanted there also to be an incident that sort of represented, some of
Mhm.
those themes of misogyny, of sexual violence, sexual harassment, right?
Mhm.
And another thing that I'm doing is exploring what it is like for a smart, ambitious woman to have to navigate that era, to have to navigate the music industry in the late 90s and early noughts, to have to
Yeah.
navigate, like the publishing industry. Like, what is it like to be this woman and try to attain your goals and realize your dreams, while all of these things are swirling around you. So
Mhm.
the prologue does all of that, right? It throws you in a way that's like
Mhm.
shocking. You have an incident that kind of represents, a lot of the struggle that women face in that era,
Mhm.
right? And then you kind of, come through the prologue and you feel the threat of like the main antagonist
Yes.
of the book, which is who is a gentleman named Alonzo Griffin. So all
Mhm.
that happens in the very spicy prologue.
Yes, it did because I my girls over at She Well Read, we also use your book as a discussion as a pod episode. And
Mhm.
I told my friend Sam and Lana, I was like, why she started like that? She said, girl, mess. And I said,
I
listen, I
know.
was here for it, but it was mess.
I know.
It was
Listen, I
mess.
have read the prologue at various events, and I have to preface it. I'm like, listen, everybody out there in the audience. you might clutch pearls. If you don't like
Yes.
cursing or pearl
Yes.
clutching, or if there's any children here, I recommend getting up and just excusing yourselves for a few minutes and then coming back for the rest of the conversation because you will clutch
Correct.
your pearls, you will hear all the words and all the things.
Yes. But I definitely felt like through the prologue, what you were actually getting to and what we just discussed is accountability.
Absolutely.
Um, who are we accountable to? Ourselves, our audience, to our community. Like,
Yeah.
what did Alfonso owe his friend? This supposed to be your dear friend, and you messing with his daughter. Their daughter. Like,
Right. Right.
what's going
Well,
on?
Alonzo was like he was just like a real,
I know a
he
couple of
again, he was
those.
very much representative of so many of the men of that era, like the ballers.
Hmm.
I mean, I kind of use that term to encapsulate,
Yeah.
the gentlemen largely in the music industry who've kind of grown up in that industry, who've been impacted by largely misogynistic values, who just feel very who expect, that women will give them what they want and then they
Yeah.
demand it, right?
Yep.
And
And
so
then they
he's
demand
just that kind of a guy who's been in the industry such a long time that he doesn't even see how skewed, I don't think, I mean, he sees how
no.
skewed his moral compass is.
I don't think so either because everybody else is excusing it, right? So
Mhm.
who's gonna help you steer
Right.
your compass right if everyone else is
Mhm.
just applauding it because you're selling things? Like you're making so much money for these companies. They're like, I don't care. It's just a little something something. And mostly who he's doing it to is young black women. So who would
Exactly.
who would care, right? Which brings me to this line: Black girls don't sell magazines. So we
Mm,
are in Nikki's world, and she's at this very white publication.
mhm,
And this line, I think it hits every single black woman, regardless of industry you are
mm.
in, because usually we're one of one or one of a few, or we just hear things like this and we're supposed to excuse it. Was that something you actually heard in your career? And what did it mean for Nikki to build her entire professional identity inside an industry that already decided she wasn't the point?
I mean, it's interesting, I'm assuming you'll ask me this at some point because everybody does. Because some people are reading this book like it's a damn memoir. It is not.
No,
I
I
am not
wasn't reading it like a memoir, more like auto fiction. Like,
It's not really autofiction either because I have
really?
to tell
Oh
you,
no.
it's really not Nikki Rose. I mean, there is a lot of similarities between myself and my protagonist, like structural
Mm,
similarities,
mm,
but her journey is so very different than mine in like almost, I mean, I can't say every conceivable way, but in almost every
yeah.
conceivable way. And but because I've had that conversation and will continue to have that conversation about myself relative to Nikki, I literally counted. I was like, let me count like the number of things in the actual book that I appropriated from my
Mm,
real life
mm.
and used in the novel. And there are five, like five sort of general things. I mean, I counted. I was like, let me like really figure this out. And one of those five things is that phrase, "Black girls don't sell magazines." And it happened for me at a slightly different moment in my career. It was a little earlier in my career, and it was a
Mm.
sort of Italian gentleman that said it to me. Um, and I was working for like a magazine of his. It was much different than Stylist, which is the
Yeah.
magazine that my protagonist is working for. But I'll never forget it. We were in an office, right? And he's smoking, chain smoking cigarettes in his Italian, shiny
Oh,
suit.
you're mhm.
Literally, and I'm like, we're talking about cover models and, I'm young, I'm 25 or 26 maybe, and I'm asking about black cover models, of course, because I always do. And I'll never forget, he just goes like, "Oh, Amy, black girls don't sell magazines."
Yes.
And I mean, and it just stuck with me obviously all these
Yeah.
years, because exactly like you're saying, it really was this moment that I processed as a young black woman going into the media industry, going into the magazine
Mhm.
world, how little that industry valued me. How much they
Mm.
wanted to pigeonhole me, how much they didn't believe that I was capable of doing anything outside of content for Black
Mhm.
women, which is, don't get me wrong, like that's my
Yeah.
heart, that's my soul, that's the through line of everything I do. You know what I mean? But
Right.
I also don't like the idea of obviously being pigeonholed, being told I can't,
Yeah.
do content for like a mainstream audience, A,
Yeah.
but B, that we are not valued, that we don't have, that we are
Mhm.
not a consumer of value, that we're not an audience of value, we're not a reader of value. And for Nikki, my protagonist, when she hears this, right, it really shows her because at that point she's in Stylist. She's at this magazine
Mhm.
that is like, Elle or Harper's
Yeah.
Bazaar or Vogue, right? She's in like a, very prestigious,
Mhm.
large fashion, publication. Her editor in chief says this to her, and it really helps her understand what that ceiling is like. You know what I mean? Like the
Mhm.
fact that she wants to be editor in chief of this
Yeah.
Stylist magazine at this prestigious company, Park Avenue Publishing, where she works.
Yeah.
And she realizes in that moment that there is for her at least, she perceives it to be like a ceiling, right? She
Mhm.
understands how, again, how little she's being valued. And
Yeah.
it really kind of shifts her perspective and her goals, I think.
Because there's something to that, and I want to get into what you're hitting at, which goes to my next question: is proximity to whiteness, and
Mhm.
what are you willing to give up yourself to in order to climb? And there was this line that said, "The idea that I was now deemed worthy of that honor because I lightened and straightened my curls made me want to dunk my head under the faucet in the bathroom sink."
Love that line. I
This
love that
is
line, if I must
this is
say.
something that, I believe a lot of and so much we have strive for Black women hair to be accepted and to
Mm,
be professional. And I put that in quotations because it's so disrespectful that our hair can be professional. But this passage is one of the most cutting things for me in the book because it's something that I have intimately felt in my career. Um, and Nikki doesn't just notice the politics of her hair, but she just feels it viscerally, like how she's treated, how she's
mhm.
accepted. What were you what were you thinking about when you wrote that scene?
You know, I don't know a Black woman. I don't know a single Black woman that doesn't have some kind of emotion around our hair, whatever the
Mhm.
emotion is, right? In whatever direction.
Yeah.
I do not know a Black woman without some emotion around their hair. And so one of the themes, or I definitely want to explore race in a more nuanced
Mhm.
way, right, throughout the
Yeah.
so that's one of the things I did throughout the book. And one of the ways I did that was through Nikki's hair and her hair journey,
Mhm.
right? And the way in which, I mean, we're all kind of perceived differently depending on how we wear our hair, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I wear my hair all different ways. Right now it's
Me
curly,
too.
I've worn it straight, I've worn it in braids, I mean, I've done
Mhm.
it all, I've had it short, I've had it long, I've had all sorts of things. And I can personally attest to, as every Black woman I know can attest to, the fact that we are treated so differently relative to how we style our hair. And I think that, my protagonist, Nikki, was kind of struggling with the way that people were perceiving her in different environments regardless,
Mhm.
and it was accentuated and exacerbated by her hair. And so when she was in this particular environment and the white women around her were like, "Oh, now you can kind of belong. Now you look more like us. Now, you look
Mhm.
like you belong on the cover of Stylist,"
Right.
because her hair was, like, straight and light and you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And she just, she, like, objected to that, right? She objected to
Mhm.
it, like, just emotionally, philosophically, like, she was just like, "I don't want to be perceived in this, I don't want to have this particular perception be put on me because of my hair," and yet, right?
Yeah.
And yet she's aware of it, right? So she's aware
Mhm.
that, okay, but however, if I wear my hair like this, then it does ease my passage somewhat.
Yes.
And I mean, I love part of what I love about her journey, is that she very, without not with, without a lot of struggle, she very much like lets go of the idea of proximity to whiteness
Mhm.
being like a desirable, prestigious thing that she will do anything to have, right? Like
Yes.
that is not her journey at all.
Yeah.
And I very much, like that for her.
And on the same token, when she went to Sugar,
Mhm.
her hair, she was like, "Wait, I'm confused now. My outfits, my hair." I'm like, "What? How am I supposed to mold in this new world? Because I wasn't used to being myself in a way. And now I'm like in this place, being able to be myself, but still also being criticized, still for being herself."
Exactly. Well, because that's the thing. So when Nikki goes from, being the black sort
Mhm.
of Whisper over at Stylist, her white
Yeah.
mainstream like fashion magazine she was working, right? Over to Sugar, right, which was a urban Black
Yeah.
women's magazine that was much more associated with the music industry, right?
Hmm.
I think that for her, it was less about her personal comfort and more about the way in which people were perceiving her, right? Because over here,
Mm.
they're like, "Oh, you're the Black Whisperer," and over here,
Yeah.
they were like, "Well, do you have enough authenticity and cred to
Right.
represent this brand? Can
Hmm.
you really do that? Are you really like who you say you are?" She doesn't help herself when she first walks in and she gets kind of
Yeah.
her outfit wrong and she gets certain things wrong. At the same time, she's like, "So I'm too much over here and I'm not enough over here." And
Yeah.
she's trying to kind of work that out for herself. But I also think that a lot of her discomfort is, it's partially that kind of perception, but it's also the proximity to the music industry more than it is like
Mm.
a Black magazine, right? Because I don't,
Right.
she doesn't have identity issues. But I think that it is a culture shock, and this is something I can attest to also. Um, Although when I was, because I was editor in chief of Honey magazine, but when I
Right.
went to Honey magazine, I was coming from Essence, right? I was a fashion and beauty
Right.
features editor of Essence magazine, and then I went from there, and then Lifestyle, and then I went from there to being at Honey. So I wasn't coming from any kind of white fashion magazine. You
Right.
know what I mean? Like I
Exactly.
knew that. But what did throw me though when I went over to Honey wasn't about being in a Black magazine, obviously. It was about navigating the music industry
Hmm.
and trying to figure out like what to do with like these powerful ballers who were all of a
Hmm.
sudden like, rolling up on me, right? In a
Yeah.
way that was like, oh, okay, I don't know what to
Yeah.
do with
So what's going on here? I'm.
right, like, wait a minute, let me, like, recalibrate and think about that, and that is something, that I mean, to a different extent, to a greater extent, I have to say, because because this is a fictionalized account, obviously,
Right.
so to a greater extent, my protagonist goes through, she's really I think the thing that's storing her is this music, urban, like, hip hop music industry culture that she's like, "Oh, alright, let me I need to, like,
Yeah.
figure out how I'm gonna deal with this particular thing."
So is this one of the five that you took from your life?
Um
Navigating Nikki's navigation of the music scene, not everything she did because she was kind of wilding,
No, I
but
didn't actually count it as one of the 5 because her navigation was so different than mine,
Mhm.
right? Because for
Mhm.
me, I was much less naive than Nikki was when
Mhm.
she became editor-in-chief of Sugar, you know what I mean? Like, I had a much
Yeah.
different life, a much different path, kind
Mhm.
of walking into that position, and, um, and don't get me wrong, I made lots of mistakes in my personal and my professional life. I just didn't make these mistakes, okay?
Right.
I didn't make these, right? So if you read the book, you'll know what I'm talking about. Um,
Yes, I do.
and so my own situation was different, and I
Mhm.
had kind of my head was a little more clearly sort of screwed onto my shoulders.
Mhm.
I had a more established kind of line in the sand about what I
Mhm.
would and wouldn't do. I
Mhm.
had really good mentors who were helping me out, kind of navigate as well.
Yeah.
Um, and so I didn't actually count it, as one of the, it wasn't
Yeah.
one of the 5 because for her again, her situation was much more, kind of extreme and jarring.
Yeah, she got thrown in.
She got thrown in. She got thrown exactly, she got thrown in a way that was very discombobulating, and so I of course, I mean, so I wrote it I mean, obviously I fictionalized this as a
Mhm.
novel, but I wanted people to see what it felt like to
Yeah.
be a more naive woman, still smart, still ambitious, but trying again to orient herself in that space.
No, for sure. And I definitely want to talk about like the men in her life because
Mhm.
that comes up a couple times. Especially, it's just weird that the less I recognize myself, the more he adores me. And I
Mm-mm.
think not all
Joseph.
women, but some women have
Mhm.
dealt with that. And that line was like, oh, there's so much to pack into about the kind of love some of us offer and what is acceptable
Mhm.
because of the career choices that you choose to make for yourself
Right.
versus the career choices that men get to make for themselves. And then
Mhm.
we as women just kind of have to deal
Right.
not as much, but especially like I think late 90s, early aughts, and still a little bit now, that it was you have to be partnered to be valued. You
Right.
have to have these things. And if your man doesn't like it, then maybe you should leave. Maybe it's not for you. Can you talk about why it was so important to highlight that relationship and that dynamic?
Sure. I mean, so we're talking about Nikki's relationship with her, So Nikki has
Her
multiple, like,
financier.
in the book, right, exactly. Nikki has many, 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 many. She has,
Right.
like, we'll go with 4, sort of,
Or
you know, I mean, love interests, one of which isn't really a love interest, but, we'll have, there's 4 men, right, that we are sort of dealing with in this book.
yeah.
And the one that we're referring to now is her, finance boyfriend, Joseph, who's, like, great on paper. He's one of, like, the old money, black money, like, from the
Mhm.
DMV type of, like, guys that
Mhm.
everybody's like, "Oh, you can't believe you bagged this guy who doesn't have
Yeah.
any kids, and he's, like, got money, and he's this, that, the third, and,
Mhm.
he's been doctors for 4, 5 generations," kind of guy. You know what I'm saying? You know how we are.
Right.
Uh,
Little
and
talented 10.
right, exactly. He was straight up talented 10, and he represented so many of the things that she was supposed to
Mhm.
want, right? That were supposed to be goals for her, and yet it didn't make her feel seen, or he didn't make her feel seen because he really loved her, but he loved an idea of her. He really wanted her to fit into the mold that he was going for as well,
Mhm.
right? Like,
Right.
he really wanted a particular kind of woman. And on paper, right, Nikki
Mhm.
was that woman, but just her actual goals and the way she moved through the world was different. And so that was like their kind of conflict, was that she was like,
Mhm.
you're only supporting me when I'm doing things that you find to be valuable, but
Mhm.
you're not supporting
Right.
me on the journey that I wanna be on, right? And I think that
Mm.
for me, it was important to highlight that. I mean, on one hand, this book is set in the late 1990s. I mean, it's damn near a historical novel, right? If you think about, like, that was a long time
Yeah, I
ago.
didn't realize that was historical fiction until
I mean,
recently. I
it's
was
not,
like,
it is and it
"Oh."
isn't, right? But, like, it's, so there, things were very different then. On the other
Mhm.
hand, ça change, right? Like, so the more things, change, the more they stay the same.
Yeah.
And so, so there's many things that were different, and there's many things that are still the same. And the way in which, Black women are valued in relationships, the goals that we have in terms of, being partnered,
Mhm.
the things that we're looking for in a partner. I mean, a lot of that has changed from that era,
Yeah.
but it's still interesting, I think, to
So,
examine, like, the way that we
yeah.
love and the way that we are loved.
And also, like, how her parents, especially her mom, was, like,
Mhm.
really forcing this. Like, she was kind of ashamed that she was at this magazine. She was like, "Why you like, I'm gonna buy you your little outfits, but what we doing?" Like, it was very
The
much like, "I'm
mom,
gonna
oh,
support you, but, like, you get rid of now you taking it a step too far, you getting rid of Joseph? What's going on?
I
What?
mean,
I thought we
the
were what?"
right, but the mom, right, exactly, the mom, but bless her heart, right, the mom, right,
Mhm.
was also representative of women of that era, right?
Yeah.
Women who really, like, our parents, so many of them
Mhm.
did not want us to struggle the way they did.
Yes.
And so they were setting us up in professions that they thought, and lifestyles that they thought were going to give us as much, more stability than they had, more
Mhm.
financial, freedom than they had, right? Like a
Yeah.
easier path than they had. And that's what her mom was like. I mean, she loved her daughter, to pieces,
Yeah.
obviously, but she was concerned that she was not setting herself up for the stable existence that she thought that she had. And she was like, I don't understand what the problem is, right?
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? Like, you you're already at this magazine, which I don't approve of, right? Because that
Right.
makes no sense to me. Why couldn't you just be a lawyer? But at least you have
Right.
Joseph, the finance guy. Like, how could you let
Right.
him do? What are you doing? Right. And so this was like
Yeah.
what the mom was on.
Yeah, I definitely think about that a lot, especially as more people are wanting to take chances, and I think I notice a lot when, because I'm getting to that age, where people are having, like, quarter midlife crisis, and I do think it's because we did so much by the book and or did things for our parents' sake
Mm,
that we forgot ourselves, and so I just saw a lot of myself in Nikki in that moment, like,
mm,
I did a lot of crazy things. My parents were like, "I don't understand," but now they love the benefits of it, right? They understand the plan, and sometimes I was like, "Yeah, Nikki, trust the plan. You might not always know where it's going, but I feel you, girl."
she does. I mean, it's hard to defy your parents, actually, especially
Yeah.
when you are at a stage of life, that Nikki is. I mean, I also very intentionally made her 29. Like, I want you, and
Yeah.
she's 29 to 30 in the book, because that is a stage of life that I find for me, but also for
Yeah.
many women that I know. Um, it's you're an adult, obviously. This isn't a coming of
Yes.
age book, right? But
Mhm.
you're coming into your womanhood, right? You're really
Yes.
figuring out how you want to walk through the world. Like you're getting
Mhm.
comfortable in your own skin. You're
Mhm.
deciding like who you are at your core. And
Yeah.
that's where Nikki is. And so that's this moment when she was like still listening to her mom, but she's like, actually,
Yeah,
I
yeah, I don't know about
want
that.
to do this. I
I
want
would
to do
love to see
something
Nikki
different.
in 10 years.
Say again?
I wanna see Nikki, like, at almost about to turn 40.
Man, listen, let's hope this TV show goes.
Listen, we're excited, all of us. I can this is ready for the screen, and it's right. So, Nikki's notes, I
Yes.
know you did that at Honey, right?
Yes, that is one of the 5.
Okay, alright.
Yes, that is
I
one of the
love that
5.
device, like, these little moments of self-reflection that read like journal entries. I know where it came from, but why did you feel like that piece of the 5 need to
Uh,
be seen in this vulnerable way for Nikki
you
in this
know,
story?
I have to say, so when I was editor-in-chief of Honey, I wrote, editors' letters that were very transparent, very personal. I really wanted to humanize success. I
Yeah.
wanted to, because this was a time that was before social media. I mean, I'm
Mhm.
aging myself, but it was, right? Um, so a lot of folks would look at people in these glamorous positions, and being an editor-in-chief at that time was extremely glamorous and very
Mhm.
visible, and sort of think that you sort of either fell into the job or your life was glamorous and it was so unattainable. And I was like, nah, I've never been that girl. Like, let me. So I used to write a lot about like,
Mhm.
mistakes I made or things that
Mhm.
embarrassed me or, things I wouldn't repeat again. And I would write like, this is what happened to me. This is the lesson that I learned. Here's a lesson for you. Here's how you could like not repeat this or
Mhm.
repeat it or whatever. And I really, and
Mhm.
it became, really the emotional cornerstone of Honey magazine. Like so many
Mhm.
people would write to me about those letters or would stop me on the street about the letters or my letters, my editor's letters. And I thought that for Nikki, my protagonist, as she's becoming editor in chief of Sugar, to have that kind of emotional connection with her readers, right? To really put herself in that vulnerable position, right? Where everybody's
Mhm.
like, oh, do you have enough cred to run this
Right.
thing? And she's like, well, A, yes, but B, what I also have is an emotional, organic connection to my reader.
Mhm.
And I want you to see me and I want you to hear me, right? And I want you to understand because people also, again, it's different now with social media where you have so much like inputs coming at you from everywhere,
Yeah.
right? But back then, people weren't really talking to Black women like that. I mean, the only other thing that
No.
was remotely like that in the era that I was doing my editor's letters, or that Nikki is fictionally writing hers. There was Susan Taylor's In the Spirit for Essence
Mhm.
magazine, but
Mhm.
those were a little bit more. They were beautiful, Susan Taylor,
Yes.
but they were more like in the spirit, right? Sort of like
Yeah.
musings, like beautiful
Right.
musings about kind of like sort of philosophical, thing,
Right.
in the spirit, right? But it was less about Susan's personal life. You know what I
Right.
mean? Whereas I was writing about my personal life,
Mhm.
in Honey, and Nikki's writing about her personal life, and she's sharing her mistakes, right? Like, for
Right.
example, when she has that falling out with her friends, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Sharing about it in Nikki's notes, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So that, because she's really just being like, this thing that happened to me and I don't know what to do. And I just thought it was, I just recall how incredibly important it was at the time and how meaningful it became for me and for
Mhm.
my readers. And I wanted that for my fictional, but my protagonist as well.
No, I really do love that because me and my friends were talking about this recently. There's really nothing for young girls anymore. Like for girlhood. Like we used to have Limited Two, we used to have Delia's, we used to have Cosmo Girl, and like all these things that now we don't have. And it's nice to have someone who is like a big sister tell you about their mistakes so you can learn from them. You could take them, you don't have to take it. But
Right.
hearing you're not alone and making mistakes, that we're all perfect, because that's the
Right.
tool of social media, is to present this mold of perfect. And
Right.
that's what I loved about magazines back then. Like that's what I miss a lot.
Right.
And the little big posters that you could take out and put in on your
That's
wall.
hilarious. I used to do this every now and then, and when I was, because Honey magazine was for like, was for women in their like 20s and 30s or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was also editor-in-chief of Teen People, which is like
Yes.
teens. And I used to do posters. Man, listen, I had
We
to one
will I will run up
year
in there
on the
for a
house.
poster.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate it. They need to bring those back. Like I
Yeah.
used to decorate my room with those posters. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So I did want to talk about before we jump about JJ.
Mm.
Because JJ is a very interesting character. And I
Mhm.
think because he's not necessarily bad, but
Mhm.
he's also not courageous.
Yes.
And
Right. Yes, ma'am.
And I think we're in that point right now in the reckoning, and more reckonings are coming in
Mhm.
all industries
Yes.
about complicity of silence.
Mm. Ooh, you were saying words. Yes, ma'am. Mm.
Because when everything happens with Bishop, he doesn't defend Nikki when it really counts.
He does not.
And that moment is probably one of the most realistic betrayals in a book, especially I think a lot of women, black, white, or otherwise, can attest to that. Because it's not dramatic, it's just silence. He just fades.
Right. He just
He just
fades.
he just
That's
fades into
exactly
the background like Homer
right.
Simpson into the bush. Right? Like, you know what? This don't got nothing to
We
do with
all know
me.
what you need.
I don't know what's going on here.
Right.
How did you write a friendship in a friendship, a friend with benefits that's complex
Mhm.
without making him necessarily like a super villain?
I love this. Everything you're saying, I love, and I try to do that with most actually of the antagonists in the book.
Hmm.
I wanted them to be nuanced and complicated, right? Because somebody who's just like straight up evil all the time is like
Yeah,
not interesting, you know what I
that's
mean?
not
And
fun.
JJ is not. I mean, he's somebody who ultimately really cares about Nikki, right? But he's
Hmm.
another person who just was who really grew up in the music industry in a way such that his moral compass is skewed and he is not
Hmm.
even aware of it. He doesn't even see it or feel it. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And I wanted him to be the kind of person who was capable of caring for my protagonist. He was capable of caring for
Hmm.
Nikki. He was supportive of her to a certain extent, but he was also all about his business, right? He was
Hmm.
he was about what he was trying to do, right?
Yeah.
And nothing was going to get in the way of what he was trying to do. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? So both things could be true. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like he could care about Nikki. He could be interested in her, right?
Hmm.
But he's also interested in her through this lens of misogyny where whatever she's doing is not nearly as important as what he's doing
Hmm.
and his goals, right?
Hmm.
And, so that's why, I mean, and actually in many ways, he not only betrays her, but he feels betrayed by her.
Yes.
Nikki did not give him, a heads up, about Slick Bishop, his artist, right? JJ
Hmm.
is a music producer, a label exec,
Right.
his artist, Slick Bishop, a rapper.
Hmm.
Terrible, terrible man, total misogynist. Like, no, he is a
Terrible. Terrible. The
terrible man,
worst. One of the
the
worst.
worst, right? So, there's a thing that, Nikki's doing to expose Slick Bishop that she's not
Hmm.
giving, right? JJ a heads up around, right? And so,
Hmm.
was JJ wrong to defend his artist? In those circumstances, I think we could argue absolutely yes, right?
Yes.
Was that also his artist? Yes, it was, right? You know what I
Yes.
mean? Like all these things are true. Like it's so that's what I'm
Hmm.
saying. It was a very, I hope, like nuanced portrayal, of what men are like in that period. At the end of, and at the end of it, when they were really, at the end of the day, when they were talking about
Hmm.
their relationship, you know, I really like the fact that Nikki was the one who made the ultimate decision.
Yeah.
It was ultimately Nikki took her power back, right?
Yes.
Even though, JJ and Alonzo,
Hmm.
as a whole, were trying to take her power from her.
Yeah.
Part of her journey was to take her power back.
No, and that was something that was beautifully written because I think even now we have complacency sometimes with men and with women when it's about these very well, it's not very nuanced what Slick Bishop was doing, but but because there was no quote proof or things of that nature, it's very interesting. I do think men a lot of the time make up a lot of excuses for each other, because then what does that say about them that they were hanging out with this person and
Mhm.
they didn't have an idea? And really, it's not an indictment of them, because the person is the person. So
Mm.
I hope any man who's reading the book, or woman, they, them, everybody, when
Right.
they read somebody like Slick Bishop in JJ's
You
relationship
said
to
they, them,
somebody like,
everybody.
huh?
You said they, them, everybody.
They, them, and
Very
everybody.
inclusive. Thank you.
Yes, I got to be, because
No,
all
we
can
should
happen
be.
anywhere.
As we know, correctly so.
Um, I hope they're reading this and they take your words of like, there is just because this person has done something doesn't mean this is an indictment of you. The indictment happens after you find out that they have done this.
Right.
So now what do you do with the information?
Although I have to say, I have read this book with, or not with, but I've talked to some men, and then at least
Mhm,
and one um men's only book club, right?
mhm.
About this book.
I love
And
that.
yeah, it was really cool actually. And without giving away too much, there is a incident of sexual violence in the book, right?
Mhm,
And there are two incidents really of sexual violence in the book. And it was very interesting to me because one of the men in the men's book club
mhm,
was like, well, was that really, was it rape, or was it a suggestion? Was it like a strong suggestion? Like, was it,
mhm.
what I mean? Like, was it a sort of an influence? Like, was it what I
Mhm.
mean? And they were
Yeah.
very reluctant to call it what it
Mhm.
was, right? And so I am not a punch puller. I'm
Therapist.
like, "Yeah, no, actually it was."
Yes. Yeah,
And
it
I'm so
definitely
glad we're having
was,
this conversation, sir, because
because it was definitely like he
what?
was
Because
going
what
to
we
take
go,
it
so
regardless.
then let's talk about the fact that, like,
Right.
that husbands can rape wives,
Mhm.
right? And that whatever the situation is, wherever you are in the process, if you say no, then
Yes.
that is a stop.
That's a full stop no.
It's a full stop. I don't care what the situation. So it's just very interesting to me to have that conversation now. And I was grateful, and I hope more men read this book,
Mhm.
because I really want men to also understand, what it is like to be a woman, right, in these
Mhm.
kinds of situations, what it feels like, what we go through. Because the other thing I don't,
Mhm.
I know, I don't want to say I don't know a single woman because I've talked to every woman about this, but I, from the women I've spoken with, like, every time I raise this topic, I don't think encountered a woman who has not at some point in their lives been in a situation where they felt sexually coerced, where they were in some kind of situation and where it was easier to just
Mhm.
go on ahead and give in
Mhm.
than it
Yeah.
was to stop because of any number of situations, right? They were being strongly
Mhm.
coerced. They were already, in the apartment, you know, they
Mhm.
felt like to get out of the situation, they would be unsafe, or they would have to make a scene,
Mhm.
or, they couldn't justify in their mind why they wanted to stop what they did, but they couldn't figure out why, and they
Right.
didn't, you know what I mean? Or whatever it was.
Mhm.
I have talked to countless women, myself included, that have been
Mhm.
in that situation, right? That's not, and these are gradations, right? That's not like,
Mhm.
sexual violence, but that
Right.
is a situation where you are finding yourself somewhere where it is so hard to extricate yourself. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And I really want men to understand this.
Yeah, and the negotiations that we even have to make in business,
Mhm.
when business is very casual, right? Music is casual,
Mm.
art is casual, and so lines get blurred a lot. So what happens then for
Right.
that sense of comfort? Like, do I need to make sure I'm in a public place now? Like the mental gymnastics that sometimes women have to go through in order to make sure that they are as safe as possible is something that was very much highlighted to me, especially for Nikki when she was trying to get to the root of it. And once she got to the root, she was like, "Oh, I need to make sure this is always going to be public because
Right,
you're
exactly.
insane. You're insane. Something's wrong with you." Um,
I do wanna say
and
this is a
then
really fun book, y'all. Hold on with it. Now, we're talking about a lot of really, really, really heavy subjects.
we are talking about a book. We're
Wait
talking
a
about a
minute
book.
now. I also wanna make clear, this is a really fun, like, page turner of a book.
No, it is
No,
fun. It is
yeah, we're
very fun. I
talking
know
about
we just
some
got
very
really deep.
we got really
Um,
deep.
yes. But that's the point about making
This
books,
is the
man.
If I Rule the World
We
is a
gonna have
summer read, though,
fun.
y'all. It is because
I was
what I don't want in the
laughing.
summer. I don't want like books that need too many trigger warnings, what have you. Like it is a
Mhm.
very, very fun read, but I am exploring some important and
Yes.
urgent topics.
I think it was like everything was happening with He Who Shall Not Be Named at the same time that your book was coming. And I was like, well, isn't this a coinky dink? I know it wasn't planned. I was just like, well, now.
It wasn't
Poor Erin.
planned. Oh my God.
I was like,
I
what in the universe is happening? And I think your book, funny, hilarious, glamorous, sexy, gritty, all the things. But it was also real in a screenshot time capsule of what it
mm,
was like as a young woman in that era. Because I think we always romanticize it because it was fun. It
right.
was fun.
It was so
But
much
it
fun.
also had a lot of darkness.
This was the most fun I've ever had in my life. I mean,
Was it?
again, this is not my personal story, but I mean, did I dance on tables? I sure did.
Same.
I sure did. Two hands in the air. I sure did. Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
I was waiting for, like, all I can remember is watching the Hot in Here video by Nelly. And I said, I'm gonna be in somebody's basement party,
Listen,
getting hot and sweaty and dancing. I couldn't wait. And I
listen.
did. And I did. Shout out to me because I didn't grow up with no like screens, phones, everything being recorded. And we're missing that. I miss that. I miss those days.
Um, oof,
But before,
I'm very grateful, because that's the other thing about this era is
uh-huh.
that this is before people were like recording every single thing on their phone. And so
Yes.
people were partying at the parties. And
Yes.
I wish, I mean, I wish people understood because I know it sounds like old to say it, like, oh, before like cell phone, but I
Back in
mean,
my day.
I know, but the reality is
Yeah,
that
we were
what
partying.
people don't understand is that what it meant is that you partied at the party. That people were on their phones sitting in corners, like
No, you were sweating.
you were at the party to party. And
Eyelash
parties
was
then
off.
were like crazy. So there's so many. It's funny. I was going through the editing process with my editor at Flatiron, and she was like, Amy, do you think there may be too many party scenes in the
That
book?
was the time.
I know. I was like, so I told her, I was like, no, there are not. In fact, maybe there aren't enough. I was like, no. I was like, this was the
Also,
time. I was like, no, there are.
anytime I'm in
This is
New
what we were
York,
doing. We were partying at the party. So, no, ma'am, I am not taking out not an area party scene. And I did not.
even now when I go to New York, it was just like it just reminded me of like when I used to live in New York for like 2 years for work. And then like every time I go to New York, I'm up till 6, 5 a.m. And I don't know how I got here, but I'm up. I'm up. After the
You're
Knicks
hilarious.
won, I was outside. I don't know what was happening.
You're
All I
hilarious.
know was I got home and there was a pizza next to me and I was having a wang.
I was having a wig. A wig.
A wang dang doodle of a time. Okay, that's all I
Listen,
know. But I knew I had
listen.
fun, and that's like the magic. You really encapsulate the magic of the city because it's nothing like being in New York,
Right. Well, this is a love
especially
letter to the city.
partying in New York.
This was a love letter to it was just a love letter to New York City. It was a love letter to hip
Yeah.
hop,
Mhm.
which I have a love-hate relationship, but it was a love letter to hip
Same.
hop. It was a love letter to the era. It was a love letter to the heyday of magazines.
Yeah.
It was a love letter to ambitious women,
Yes.
I
It was
mean,
like
that's
Brown Sugar, like the cousin of Brown Sugar to me. And
right,
Brown Sugar is like one
exactly.
of my favorite movies.
Some people have said that this is like Devil Wears Prada meets Brown Sugar.
Yes. I'm like, when did you fall in love with hip hop? I might watch that again
Mm,
today.
mm,
I
mm,
just,
mm,
oh,
mm.
that's a movie. And then before I really let you go, we're going to talk about your projects. There's a through line about forgiveness in this book and friendship and self regard and how Nikki reckons with her younger choices and just what she did. What did you want readers to understand about making up for the mistakes of your 20s?
Excuse me. I said forget ourselves. I'm
Or
like,
lessons, maybe not even mistakes, lessons. That's IOB.
that's hilarious. Hang on there. Mm. So, one of the things I really loved, excuse me, writing about was like relationships and was
Mhm,
like friendships. You know what I mean? And I wanted Nikki to, first of all, have this amazing group of friends, right? That
mhm,
really hold her down, but also hold her accountable. You know what I
mhm,
mean? And because of that, they're in a relationship with her that allows for, or that, when mistakes do happen, they will tell her about them, right?
mhm.
And so she's with her friends in this entire sort of journey that she's
Mhm.
on, and she's excuse me, she's trying to figure out not just how she maintains these relationships that she absolutely loves because she
Mhm.
loves her friends and her friends love her, but also um, how she kind of reconciles these goals and the
Mhm.
obligation she has kind of professionally with her personal relationships because it gets very complicated for her. You know
Right.
what I mean? And so things happen where she really puts those friendships to a test, and the friends have to forgive her, right?
Mhm.
For the incident, but she also has to kind of forgive them because they also don't really understand where she's coming from. And then she has to forgive herself because there comes a
Mhm.
moment too where she has a lot of like realization. She becomes more self-aware and she
Mhm.
realizes more about um, you know, the cost of ambition and the
Mhm.
price that she's paid and the decisions that she's made. And she
Yeah.
has to get to a point where she is also forgiving herself, right?
Mm.
And I think that's just as important as her being able to forgive her her friends and her friends being able to forgive her.
Mm. I love that. All right, lightning round.
Mm.
Barbara, the boss of sugar, queen or menace?
Did you say Queen or Menace?
Mhm.
Queen. I love
Okay.
Barbara. I love Barbara. She's one of my favorite characters. I
Nothing.
love her.
You really?
Oh,
Oh,
I
I
love
love
her so much.
that.
Wait till I love her in the TV show. Well, we'll talk about that later. But yes, I
Okay.
love Barbara. She's a great character.
Nothing worse than a soggy kappa. Agree or disagree? No wrong answers.
Agree.
I
I'm sorry,
also
Kappas.
agree.
I'm sorry, Kappas. I'm
I'm sorry
sorry.
too. If my
But we
fiance is
said
the other side
soggy
of
though, we said
1911,
soggy.
so it's okay.
So, there's a reason why we said soggy, so I'm not saying nothing worse than a kappa, but a soggy kappa. Mm.
Listen, I can't talk. I got the other side of 1911 in my house, so it's all right.
Listen, I'm a Delta, right?
Oh,
And I was a Q Pearl, so, you know where I land.
I love that. All right. Nikki at the beginning of the book versus Nikki at the end. Who would you rather have brunch with?
Nikki at the end, because she's
Okay.
still fun, but,
Yeah.
at the end, she's, like, fully realized, and she's, like, empowered, and she, like, knows herself, and she's, like, really cool, so Nikki at the end.
I love that. The one book every listener in this conversation needs to pick up next.
Needs to pick up next.
Next.
Ooh. Oh, that's such an interesting question. That's a really interesting question because there's so many different ways of good to go. Because I mean, I could recommend. I
Mhm.
mean, I would love to. I mean, I would love to recommend some of my friends' novels, which I know is not what you're
Okay.
asking. I know that's
No,
not what,
do
you know what I
it.
mean?
This
I
is
know
your
probably
time.
that's not exactly what you're saying, but I mean, I just love like my girl Robin Lee, the
Mhm.
author of Idea of You. She just released Crash Into Me, which is such a beautiful, gorgeous, lovely lyrical book. My
Mhm.
friend Tia Williams just released The Missed Connection.
Disconnection.
My girl Kennedy Ryan just released Score. You know what I mean? Like,
See, these are
you
all books
know,
that would turn into my personality type. That's why I have Score. It's here. I saw her in Atlanta with Jacquel J before Black Romance Book Festival. And Tia Williams, she would also come a personality type once I finish. That's
right.
why I have to hold them off to the end of the year because
That's hilarious.
it will
I mean,
become my personality.
but these are my girls, and I really, and they've been so supportive of me. S.E. Chambers, like, the Swift River. Oh,
Mhm.
my girl, Social Gonzalez, Last Night in Brooklyn. I mean, and I'm sorry, I
Oh
know,
yeah.
I'm giving a lot of
No,
recommendations
I
here.
love Social's book. Where was Olga Dies Dreaming.
Oh, Olga Dashroom was a beautiful book. Gorgeous. Gorgeous. Stunning
I
book.
said, ma'am, just take my money.
Right.
Just take it. It's
Take it
here in my
all.
palms.
Take it all. Yes, indeed. So, I have a
Okay.
lot of like book girly crushes.
I love it. Same. Finish a sentence. If I ruled the world, the first thing I'd fix is.
Politics in America.
Listen, I'm trying.
Politics in America. I would fix politics in America because that would have a impact globally.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Your lips to everybody's ears.
Mm.
So let's talk about what's next. You said you're in a two. a 2-book deal with Flatiron, as well as developing If I Rule the World. So both. Tell us everything. I want
Oh
to
my
know all
gosh.
the
Okay. So I am super thrilled because I am developing If I Rule the World into a TV series with, drumroll please, Oscar nominated freaking genius Lee Daniels, right? Like is an
Yes.
insane like
Same.
sentence to even say. So Lee and I are developing If I Rule the World into a TV show
Mhm.
for Hulu. So I
Yes.
am signed on. So I'm a executive producer and a co-writer. So I'm writing the pilot with Lee, and I am manifesting at least 5 seasons. I think there's at least 2 seasons in the book.
Yes.
I am super excited. So that's like the kind of one of the really big things that's happening right now. And then, like I said, I have a 2-book deal with Flatiron, and so
Mhm.
I'm working on my second novel as well. It is not a series. It has
Mhm.
nothing to do with If I Ruled the World. But I'm just really excited. It's about a totally different topic.
So can you tell us when maybe the pilot will be out for If I Rule the World?
Oh, ma'am, no, I cannot. We're developing it. So
Yeah.
please just send good energy because the way
Yes.
it works is there's so many different stages of
Yes.
greenlighting that have to happen before it becomes like a TV show.
Mhm.
So right now we are finessing the pilot. And
Mhm.
then the next thing is to like submit the pilot to, because they've already greenlit the outline, but now they have to like look at the pilot script, and then we have to go back and forth with their notes if they have any on the pilot script. And then the big next green light is like green lighting filming the pilot, right?
Mm.
Because that's like, that's a lot of commitment on their part in
Yeah.
terms of money and all the things, and they've got to sign deals with cast and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. And then once you film the pilot, then what happens is they green light then they're like, if they like the pilot, right, then they green light the
Mhm.
TV show, right? So
Yeah.
these are all the stages that have to happen. So please, everybody, send me good energy because y'all know If I Rule the World will be a fire ass TV show. So
It
please,
would.
I mean, let's.
Listen. It's
I'm not
given
just saying
like,
because I'm the author. I mean, this if this show were on the air, the way I would run to my TV.
yeah,
I
the
mean,
music would give me like Reasonable Doubt on Hulu.
girl, I love I love Reasonable Doubt for many many reasons, not the least of
It's so
which is my.
unapologetically black and good. I'm like,
Yes,
wow,
it's so good, and
so
my
good.
fiance is on that show, so so.
Period. Put Bay on.
I did.
Okay,
I had
so
to say it. I don't normally talk about it. You brought up Reasonable Doubt, so
I did. I did. If okay, I know this is early, but if you could have a dream pick for Nikki,
Oh my
cast.
gosh. So I have been obsessed over Zazie Bates. And
Oh, I can see that.
right?
I think Zazie
Zazie
Beetz.
was in Atlanta, right? With
Yes.
and she was also in the recent movie They Will Kill You. She was in
Mhm.
Deadpool, Deadpool 2. She was in Bullet Train.
Yes.
I mean, she's just
Harder
like
They Fall as
exactly,
Stagecoach Mary. Yep.
exactly
She has
right.
good range.
Exact such a good range, and I think she's so, like, smart
Yeah.
and capable
Mhm.
and beautiful and funny. Do you know what I mean? Like, but she also like, you have to whoever's in this role, you have to believe that they can run something, right? Like,
Yeah.
they have to not only just they have to kind of you have to feel their intelligence, but also
Mhm.
feel their capability, right? You have to
Mhm.
believe that they can run a magazine, they can be an editor in
Yes.
chief, right? They can still be messy and a little bit,
Mhm.
like, outsidery, but
Yes.
still an editor in chief. So I'm low key obsessed with Zazie Bates to play Nikki Rose in the TV show.
Amazing. Is it also too early to ask the topic of the book, the second book?
So the second book is about a woman who went through a public scandal and a public divorce, and then relocated to Los Angeles to launch a divorce concierge agency to help women rebuild their lives after divorce. So now she's helping women rebuild their lives, and she's looking for love the second time around.
Come on, First Wives Club, because you know all black ladies love. You don't own me. I'm just not one of your little toys. Listen, I still watch that movie, hands
I mean,
down.
who doesn't love? Who is? Oh, Bette Midler.
Bette Midler,
Yeah,
Diane Keaton.
R.I.P.
Who was the other
R.I.P.
one?
Diane Keaton.
I know. I'm like, just taking my people from me. My people. My
Not Diane Keaton.
people.
Not
Oh
Diane
my
Keaton.
gosh. And before I let you go,
Yes.
what is something that you wish people asked you that I didn't ask or you haven't been asked yet? It's okay if you've been asked everything that you wanted to be asked.
Oh, that's so interesting. I think that, as much as, I mean, like, people, what I love being asked is, or what I would love to talk about briefly is like, what I hope people get from this book, right?
Mhm.
Because I was so intentional with the tone of
Yeah.
writing If I Ruled the World. Like, I really wanted to be like fun and escapist because I just feel like Black women deserve. I mean, any people. Like, this is not a book just for Black women, although I know my core. Um, it's for all women, it's for all men, all the things, right? But I just
Mhm.
feel like we deserve like some escapist fun, right?
Mhm.
So I wanted to be like funny, I wanted to be smart, I wanted to be sexy and glamorous, but I also wanted to be inspiring, right?
Mhm.
Because that's really ultimately like, the goal of taking Nikki on this journey, right? Is
Yeah.
for the reader to see that it's only when she becomes empowered and when she finds her voice that things fall in place for her, right? Professionally
Mhm.
and personally. And I think the story is very, very, in addition to being like fun and a page
Mhm.
turner, it's so, so inspiring. So that's something that I really hope that readers get out of this book.
No, I definitely felt that. I was like, you can make all the mistakes and you will fall down multiple times, but it's just how you get up and how
Agreed.
you repair yourself after. And when you always stay true to you, you will always climb higher.
That's
So
exactly
I
right.
definitely got that out of the book. So I really appreciate it.
Yay.
Okay. Where can the people find you?
So I am on IG. I'm on all the
Mhm.
platforms, right? So most of them I'm on is Amy Dubois Barnett, TikTok, IG. I'm on Substack. So I'd love to, I try to update everybody with everything that's going on all on my social platforms. And If I Rule the World, I appreciate all of the support, all of the love that you guys have given me already. Thank you so, so much. My book is available wherever you buy books, Amazon, Barnes and Noble. Please, buy it from a black owned, independent bookstore. I love that. Um, and please buy it for your friends. Book marketing is crazy hard, y'all. So
Yeah.
I appreciate the support I've already been given. And if anybody else is curious, if you love the book, please buy it for your friends, recommend it to your
Yes.
book clubs. If you're curious about it, please take a chance on it. I really put my heart and soul into this book. And if you didn't love it, you can stay quiet. But if you do love it, please leave me a review on Amazon or Goodreads or anywhere. If you didn't love it,
Ooh,
it's not gonna don't
no,
say don't
shut
say
your
no.
mouth.
But if you did love it, please leave me a review because it impacts the way people don't understand. It impacts the way
Yes.
your book is shown to potential readers. So the more
Mhm.
reviews you get, the more your book is shown to potential buyers. So please, if you loved it, leave me a review, and I
I
will.
love that. And if no one's told you today or recently, I'm proud of you. So
Thank you,
I'm proud of
sister.
the
I
work you've
appreciate
done.
you.
It's really
Thank you so
great.
much. Thank you, girl. I appreciate you.
Of course. So with that, y'all, that's another episode of dot 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 but make it books. Just keep bookishly healing through life, y'all. And I'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.